Good afternoon, everybody. I want to acknowledge that we are on the unceded and traditional territories of many Indigenous people throughout BC and Yukon. BC Hockey honors the traditional lands and homelands of all Indigenous peoples and communities across Canada, including First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. Please welcome today's moderator, Kevin Goodrich, with instructions for today's AGM.
Great, thanks, Bill. Thanks everyone for attending BC Hockey's first virtual AGM. Just want to run through some logistics and protocol for today's meeting. Just a reminder that voting is done via a separate link received from Data on the Spot. They are a third-party election manager operating that system, and the voting is done via a secure site. Thank you to Brandon and Simon from Data on the Spot for joining us today. This platform, GoToWebinar, has everyone muted as to not have any background noise, and only the cameras of the presenters or organizers will be shown. In advance of today's meeting, instructions on the format and logistics of the BC Hockey AGM have been circulated. Voting cards have been emailed to those who submitted their letter of intent, and should you not have a link to the voting platform, we will do our best to try and assist at this time, but if you want to email Simon at dataonthespot.com, Simon will do his best to assist at this time. Please use the question box for any questions you may have, or use the raise hand function if you'd like to be in the queue to speak on any of the presentations today. BC Hockey Sean Orr is monitoring the question box. Your name appears on the attendee list as you entered it, and can you please right-click to edit your name to include your full name and association. This will assist us when compiling the meeting minutes and referencing any questions. All of the AGM materials were distributed prior to the virtual meeting today, including the annual report and financial report. These materials are posted to the BC Hockey website and available as they could be referenced in today's presentations. Should you have any technical issues or any questions regarding the AGM, our staff is standing by to try and assist. If you would like to call 250-652-2978 or email info@bchockey.net, Brianna Davey is standing by. At this time, I will pass it back to BC Hockey Chair of the Board, Bill Green.
Thank you, Keegan. I'd like to welcome you to the 101st Annual General Meeting of BC Hockey, and the first done virtually. We would like to thank all our members for adjusting their schedules and attending the BC Hockey AGM on this platform. I'd also like to recognize all BC Hockey Life members for their dedication in building our branch and our game. Their example and commitment hasn't gone unnoticed. I would like on behalf of all of our members to offer a special thank you to those Life members who have joined us for this virtual AGM. What a year this has been and continues to be. Earlier this spring, we were forced to pause hockey because of the COVID-19 pandemic. At the same time, the BC Hockey Board of Directors recognized there was a need for significant change in the operation of BC Hockey moving into the future. This meant a comprehensive review of all of our current practices. We believe that reaching out to stakeholders and listening to members in all corners of the branch would be fundamental. From our communications with many of you, we began rebuilding our organization from the ground up. It required board members to take on additional tasks dealing with the changing landscape of our game and BC Hockey. The board was divided into 3 groups to work on the critical aspects of these changes. First, we put together a return to hockey work group that consisted of Dr. Shalina Babul, Chuck Campbell, and Daryl Liram to work with the office staff, Hockey Canada, via sport to develop and the return to play plan. Their dedication and commitment to working with Dr. Bonnie Henry, the BC Ministry of Health, and all the different health authorities throughout BC and Yukon has been a daunting task. Secondly, we put together a CEO search work group consisting of Stephanie White as chair, Neil McNabb, and Andrew Jacobite. This group worked tirelessly to organize our searches for a new CEO to guide us into the future. They had many meetings, shared thoughts back and forth, and presented to the board regularly on organized process to screen and help with the selection of the new CEO. We are currently working through the final stages of that process, and we look forward to reporting to our selection soon to all of you. Finally, I asked John McMillan and Grant Zimmerman to work with me and our office staff to redefine alignment and develop strategies to work closer with minor hockey associations and districts to improve the game in all areas of our branch. As you are aware, much work has been done, but yet we have still more to do. We continue to develop new ways to communicate with all of you. You can expect this to continue. The board has reached out to many stakeholders, including minor hockey associations, builders, life members, to help guide us for what we refer to as the new BC Hockey. I am proud and humbled to have worked alongside this board. Their commitment and dedication is nothing short of incredible. Working through many challenges while never letting up and making certain our members were being heard are benchmarks of our new approach. As mentioned in my address in May, COVID-19 forced changes to all aspects of life, and hockey was no exception. Never in the history of our organization has any board been forced to deal with a pandemic. Your board of directors accepted the challenges and worked even harder to ensure we could return to hockey safely and as quickly as possible. We are also most fortunate, though, to have the guidance of Dr. Bonnie Henry and Premier Horgan leading us during this most difficult time. I would like to recognize each board member individually for their service to BC Hockey over the course of the 2019-2020 hockey season. Dr. Shalina Babol, Chuck Campbell, Andrew Jacobite, Daryl Leram, John McMillan, Neil McNabb, and Stephanie White, and Grant Zimmerman. Thanks to all of you. I would be remiss if I did not mention and acknowledge our office staff under the guidance of Jeremy Ainsworth, Jennifer Chiefman, and Julie Dobell, who work closely with us to keep our organization moving forward. Great job to all of you, and a heartfelt thank you on behalf of all of us. I also want to recognize our players, coaches, officials, and volunteers. Receiving emails and videos from players talking about their experiences, commitment, and support for programming in many areas of the branch was meaningful and helpful to us in charting our new course. I would like to take a second to recognize an organization in our branch that has demonstrated to me service excellence to their members. I'd like to recognize Sunshine Coast and their president, Stuart Frizzell, along with all the volunteers who prepared a return to hockey plan that was clear, concise, and well done. They worked on their plan from the beginning of the shutdown, reaching out to other sports in collaboration to help all the ice users of their facilities. Congratulations, Stuart, and all the good people of the Sunshine Coast Minor Hockey Association. I'd also like to congratulate the BC Hockey Award winners announced earlier this month. Thank you for your exceptional efforts and contributions to the youth and amateur hockey. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to pass it to Chuck Campbell to present our Credentials Committee report. Chuck.
Thank you. I'd like to extend my thanks to June McKenzie and Andrew Jacobite, who served with me on the credentials work group. And the report is that we have present or represented by proxy 45 minor hockey associations, 207 minor hockey carded teams, 45 district associations and leagues, 4 junior leagues and teams, and 9 members of the board of directors. So the total number of participants is 310, and the total number of eligible votes is 309, as the chair does not vote unless there is a tie. I can confirm that this does meet the requirements for a quorum for our annual general meeting.
Thank you very much, Chuck. At this time, in the raise hand function, are we able to have 2 people motion and second Chuck's report, please. Sean Orr will advise when those two associations have come forward.
The motion is from Craig Sherbati, and the second is from Mike Rispin.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'd like to call forward BC Hockey's Chief Financial Officer, Jen Cheeseman, to deliver the financial report.
Thanks, Keegan. So before I start the financial report, I'd like to acknowledge and thank our audit firm, Wiseman & Mills. Murray Wiseman is in attendance today, so thank you for being here, Murray. So today's financial summary will cover the audited financial statements and the cash flows in COVID-19. On to the audit financial statements. So Wiseman & Mills completed our audit this year, and they provided an unqualified or clean audit opinion. So their opinion was that the financial statements presented fairly in all material respects the financial position of BC Hockey at March 31st, 2020. So this is a good thing, and this is what you want to happen when you have an audit completed. So financial results. So this, this graph you see on the screen, our budgeted amounts of revenues, expenses, and deficit are in blue, and our actuals are in white. So overall, we had a deficiency of revenue over expenses of $273,000. This was $72,000 under our budgeted deficit of $345,000. The timing and the shutdown due to COVID-19 was fairly good for our year end, as we had almost completed the year. If this had occurred earlier in the year, our year end would have looked quite different. So if COVID had not occurred, we would have come in with a deficit of $282,000. The cancellation of championships led to unspent expenses in our AAA programs. However, these were offset by the profits not earned from the camps that were to be run in March. Losses from our minor rec program and from the championships program were directly due to those cancellations. The year end includes $98,000 of wage subsidy that was not budgeted for and that was received for March wages paid. I will now walk through the statements and note on amounts that have significant variances compared to prior year. So here is the statement of financial position. If you're following along with your statements in hand, this is page 5. So our operating cash at year end has increased by $679,000. Our accounts payable increased by $767,000. So these correlate as we held on to our cash at year end and completed cash flow analysis. Our receivables were coming in at a slower rate, and although they appear to have decreased from the prior year included a large receivable from Hockey Canada for World Junior profits, and this was not expected to reoccur this year. So these fluctuations were due to timing of events around year end. I'll note as well that the deferred revenues of $632,000, this is mainly made up of money that was collected for camps that were to be held in April or for camps that were to be held in March that were postponed. So since year end, we have refunded all of those amounts for the camps because then they had then been officially canceled. Next, on to the statement of operations. So this is page 7 of our financial statements. Our programs are set to run at a break even. So if a revenue line increases or decreases, you would see a corresponding increase or decrease in the expense line. Looking at the expenses here, you'll see that there was no 100th anniversary expense in the current year and $209,000 in the prior year. This was a one-time event for our 100th anniversary, and this was not expected to reoccur in the current year. Our U15 AAA was a new program operated this year, and you can see that it was nil in the prior year and $1.1 million in the current year expense line. There is a corresponding revenue amount on Schedule 1 for that amount, which I will talk about next. So Schedule 1, this breaks down revenue, and this is on page 15 of the financial statements. So Hockey Canada funding has decreased by $600,000. and this is due to a prior year including funding for the World Juniors that was not expected to reoccur in the current year. You'll note here that the U15 AAA was nil in prior year and 1.1 million in the current year, as mentioned in my last slide. The Program of Excellence revenue has decreased by 188,000, and that's due to the cancellation of camps held in March. Our regional center revenue was a new pilot project run in the current year, and there's also a corresponding increase in the expense line for that. So this chart summarizes Schedule 1. It's just a more visual layout of our revenues. It shows that 67% of our revenues are generated from our programming, 24% from membership fees, 4% from grants, and 1% or less from our annual Congress, Hockey Canada funding, marketing, and interest. So that concludes the financial report. I would like to acknowledge and thank the Finance Committee for their work this year, and that includes Chuck Campbell, Chair of the Finance Committee, John McMullen, Vice Chair, Neil McNabb, and Doug Arnett. So thank you, gentlemen, for all your hard work. At this time, I'll be taking questions on the report, and then I'll be passing it over to Chuck to comment on cash flows and COVID-19.
Jen, we have no questions at this time.
Okay, so hearing no questions, I will now pass it over to Chuck Campbell.
Hello again. I just would like to make a few comments concerning the financial position of BC Hockey in the current year in the climate in which we find ourselves. A year ago, there were some questions raised by membership at the AGM concerning the level of cash that we had on hand, and I justified that with reference to the amounts that we had payable, and also the matching of receipts and just expenditures throughout the year. Because we had a surplus, we were in a better position going into the COVID-19 situation than we otherwise would have been, and than many other organizations were. Despite the fact that, as Jen pointed out to you, we had to refund over $600,000 of cash that we had received for registrations for programs that we did not run in the spring and the summer, and that has all been done. We've been fortunate in that our expectation is that we will come in within budget this year. Part of the reason for that is that the board acted relatively quickly back in June with respect to downsizing the operation when our activities downsized and when we were faced with the COVID-19 pandemic. And in addition to downsizing our costs, we are also able to avail ourselves of the wage subsidies that were provided by the federal government. And so we have some cost savings, and we have savings, for example, by not having an actual Congress, and we have some offsetting revenues in the form of the subsidies. In addition, although our operations this year at best will be at about half the revenues and half the expense level that were budgeted and that they were last year, the way most of our programs are financed is that the amount that we receive in revenues is set to equal the amount that we incur in costs. And the consequence of that is that if we cancel a program, we lose the revenues, but we lose essentially the same amount of cost, because almost all that we are doing is based on a break-even basis. So that is the situation. We are expecting in the near future to be invoicing the minor hockey associations for the registration fees due to BC Hockey for this year. The intention is to invoice them at 75% of the registration numbers from last year. We believe that almost every association's registrations will be at least at that level. If your registration numbers are well below 75%, you should contact the office and we'll see what accommodations we can make. Most of the money that we take in registrations, you should be aware, does not stay with BC Hockey. It goes to Hockey Canada to pay for Hockey Canada membership, insurance, and other items. And as a consequence, we will be passing that money on. If the situation should change drastically in the next few months, if there is a second wave of the pandemic that forces things to close, then we will have a careful look at registration fees, but we will be, in terms of the decisions that we can make, will be constrained by decisions made by Hockey Canada and by the insurance company. But rest assured that we're in a quite good financial position at this point. We do not believe that we will exceed our targeted budgeted deficit. And in fact, we should do better than we anticipated for the current year, notwithstanding the COVID situation. If anyone has any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them. I'd like to conclude, though, first by thanking Jen for the job that she's done. It has certainly been timely on the part of BC Hockey to have employed a chief financial officer prior to the situation we find ourselves in this year. And we're fortunate to have a good one who has helped us steer our way through the situations over the last year. I'd also like to join Jen in thanking the other members of the Finance Committee, John McMillan, who's the co-chair, Neil McNabb, and Doug Arnett. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Chuck, there are no questions at this time.
Okay, then I will pass the chair back to Bill Green.
Thanks, Chuck, and thanks, Jennifer, for the report. Appreciate that very much. Before we move to resolutions, I'd like to bring forward the following motions as a block. These motions have been pre-approved and seconded. As per bylaw 908, I would now ask for a motion to approve the 2019-2020 audited financial statement. That was moved by Chuck Gallagher of Okanagan Mainline and seconded by Rick Grant of Pacific Coast Amateur. Under bylaw 903, I would ask to appoint Wiseman and Mills as auditors for BC Hockey for the 2020-2021 season. That was moved by Chuck Gallagher from Okanagan Mainline and seconded by Lee Holland of the Northwest District. The minutes of the 100th AGM have been circulated. I will now ask for a mover and seconder to adopt the 100th AGM minutes as circulated. That was moved by Lee Holland of the Northwest District and seconded by Rick Grant of the Pacific Coast Amateur Hockey Association. Can I have a mover and seconder for the adoption of the coordinator and director reports from the 2019-2020 annual report? That has been moved by Lee Holland of the Northwest District and seconded by Chuck Gallagher of Okanagan Mainline. Under the requirement of the New Societies Act, I would ask for a mover and seconder that the Board of Directors' activities for 2019-2020 be ratified. That was moved by Rick Grant of the Pacific Coast Amateur Hockey Association and seconded by Lee Holland of the Northwest District. Are there any questions regarding the aforementioned motions?
Bill, there are no questions at this time.
Thank you, Sean. Please head to your voting console to adopt these motions by clicking in favor or opposed.
Please welcome Brandon from Data on the Spot to walk us through the voting procedure.
Thank you. So you should have received an email from vote@simplyvoting.com with the sender name BC Hockey-AGM voting link. In that email is your elector ID, password, and links to the voting site. If you have not received this email, please contact the Dots team in the chat. Simon Dots is in the chat, or email Simon at dataonthespot.com. Once you're logged in to bchockey.simplyvoting.com, you will see a blue Vote Now link. If you do not see any current ballot or are already logged in, click on the Home button at the top of the page next to the Log Out button and your name. This will refresh your current ballots box and reveal motions block. Once you're in the ballot, select Accepted or Not Accepted on each of the motions and click Continue. You will then be prompted to confirm or change your vote. Once confirmed, you should see a green success message. Please vote now.
Thank you, Brandon. We will advise once all the voting has been tabulated. We currently have 75 votes in. Give it another about 30 seconds to vote. Okay, final call to vote, please. And voting is now closed. Please give us a moment while we tabulate.
Okay, thank you. The motions were all carried. We will now begin the resolution portion of today's business. Grant Zimmerman will serve as your resolution chair this afternoon. Grant?
Thanks, Bill. Good afternoon, everybody. And as Bill indicated, I'll be serving as the chair of the chair for the resolutions portion of the meeting. We only have one resolution this year, so hopefully this will be straightforward for everybody to get through. The resolution is and has been sent out to the membership as part of the materials, and it is an amendment to basically reverse the intent of bylaw number 913 to change it where the directors shall not be entitled to receive remuneration or other financial benefit for their services as a director of the society. The rationale was outlined in the materials, and this resolution has been unanimously supported by the Board of Directors. I'll open it up to any questions that people might have regarding the resolution before it goes to voting.
Grant, there are no questions at this time.
All right, seeing that there are no questions, then we will move to vote on the resolution. And one thing to remember for everybody is, as it is a change to the bylaws of our society, it is a special resolution that does require support of at least 3/4 or 75% of the people voting on the resolution. So just remember that it is a special resolution and requires at least 75% of those voting. Thank you. So we'll now move to open it up for voting.
And welcome back, Brandon, from Data on the Spot to explain the procedure.
Thank you. So please return to the voting window, bchockey.simplyvoting.com. Since you're already logged in, just click on the home button at the top of the page to refresh your current ballots box. You should see Vote Now Resolution 2020-01. Delegates may have no proxies, one proxy or two proxies, and will be entitled to 1, 2, or 3 votes. You have your own vote plus one additional vote for each proxy that you hold. For this resolution, you may be in favor or opposed. If you hold no proxies, you may cast one vote, placing 1 in the box next to in favor or opposed. If you hold one proxy, you may cast up to 2 votes, place 2 in the box next to your response if you and your proxy are in agreement. Place 1 in both boxes if this is not the case. If you hold 2 proxies, you may cast up to 3 votes and distribute accordingly to the options. Place 3 in the selection of your choosing if you and your proxies are in agreement. Remember to click Continue and Confirm to cast your vote.
Thank you, Brandon. Please head to your voting console. Give it about 30 more seconds to vote, so we can see that most of the people are voting currently. Okay, we're about to close the voting, but Sean, we have one question.
Thanks, Keegan. A question came in from Eric Burnell, the president of the Richmond Jets. Can the resolution be more specific and say no remuneration for in any position or any association?
Okay, so I'm not sure that I understand the intent or understand the question directly. Sean, I don't know if you can open up the mic for some just comments related to the question to see if we could understand it a little bit better. Under the rationale for this bylaw change, it's specifically set out that it comes because of our gaming application. It comes as a result of our gaming report that was filed. And it outlines that directors of BC Hockey must not receive remuneration or it would cut out the gaming. So I'm not sure who the question is referring to, and maybe if we could get them to speak to their question, then we can understand it a little bit better.
Thanks, Grant. I'm going to open Eric's mic here.
Oh, yeah, hi. No, I guess I was just trying to understand the wording a little bit better, and if it seemed like basically it's only a paid position in BC Hockey as a director or the role of director, but does it limit it to any other type of paid position within the BC Hockey Society, I guess?
It is, Eric, it is specific to directors.
Okay.
The directors do receive, it's not like a salaried position, we're not paid, but there is an honorarium.
Okay.
That is provided to each of the directors, or has been provided to each of the directors for the work and service that they provide.
Mm-hmm.
So this resolution is only speaking to the directors. And that's why the specific bylaw number 913, like the old wording said specifically that a director may receive remuneration. And the proposal is to just reverse that so that directors shall not be entitled to receive the remuneration, but it does not affect any other paid positions within BC Hockey.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I'll welcome back Brandon to advise us of the voting results. Yeah. Okay, I think we have one more question, Sean.
Thanks, Keegan. Grant, we've had a question come in from Mike Rispin from Williams Lake Minor Hockey. Before the count, question mark, is the special resolution number set by BC Hockey as the Society Act was changed to 2/3 in 2016, ... if that impacts the vote?
So when there was a change to the Societies Act, the Societies Act did specify that associations could change the threshold for special resolutions to 2/3 if they chose. Prior to that change, BC Hockey had a 75% threshold, and I can't remember which AGM that was, but we voted to basically affirm and maintain that 75% threshold for our special resolution. So at this time, BC Hockey still maintains a 75% threshold for all special resolutions. I hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you, Grant. And Brandon will jump on as soon as the votes are tabulated.
Okay, so we have the results. We had a total of 217 votes cast. 214 were in favor with 91.45%. Sorry, one second. Sorry, the percentage is 98.6% in favor and 1.38 opposed, with 3 votes opposed and 3 abstentions.
Okay, so that means that the resolution is carried. And that ends the resolutions portion of the meeting. So I'll turn it back to Bill. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Grant. I'd now like to begin the election portion of the BC Hockey Annual General Meeting. And in doing that, I turn it over to the chair of the nominating committee, Terry Engen. Terry, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to begin by thanking the nominating committee for this year. It was comprised of Bill Ennis, Chuck Gallagher, and Bruce Hamilton for all of the work that they did in getting us to this point. We certainly operated in the same turmoil, perhaps, as the rest of the organization in getting to this virtual meeting today, but we're very comfortable that we've accomplished what we intended to do as we began. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank the staff that was attached to this committee, that being Jeremy Ainsworth, Julie Dobel, and Keegan Goodrich. Without their expertise, I'm sure that we would have found ourselves in many ways quite a bit out in left field, and we truly appreciated their guidance in getting us to this point. Bill Green is running unopposed as chair of the board and will serve another 2-year term. The BC Hockey Board of Directors is made up of 9 members, including the chair. There are 3 people entering the second year of a 2-year term, those being Chuck Campbell, Andrew Jacobite, and Grant Zimmerman. We have 7 candidates running for election. You will vote for up to a maximum of 5 of the 7. The 4 candidates receiving the most votes will be elected to a 2-year term, while the person receiving the 5th most votes will serve a 1-year term to coincide with the turnover of 4 board members per year. Your candidates up for election are Jordan Bateman, Anita Cote, Melanie Jew, Daryl Laram, John McMillan, Neil McNabb, and Stephanie White. Prior to the AGM, the candidates provided a video of themselves telling us a little bit about why they were prepared to run for these positions. Following the first slate, the membership had an opportunity to submit questions to the candidates. Candidates then offered their responses by video or text. The nominating committee is very satisfied in this virtual format that this exercise has conformed to accommodate the regulation 10.12. At this time, are there any questions pertaining to the process and voting procedure for the Board of Directors candidates?
Hi, Terry. There are no questions at this time.
Thank you. I'd also like to state at this time, as per bylaw 505, following the election, all ballots will be destroyed. The results will be posted on the presentation, and at this time, I'm going to pass it on to Brandon, who will explain the voting component. Brandon?
Okay, thank you. So again, you'll need to return to your voting window and click on the home button at the top of the page. Again, delegates may have no proxies, one proxy, or two proxies, and therefore may be entitled to 1, 2, or 3 votes. You will have your own vote plus one additional vote for each proxy that you hold. There are 7 candidates for 5 positions on the board of directors. If you hold no proxies, you may cast up to 5 votes for up to 5 different candidates by placing one in the box next to the candidate's name. You may not cast more than 1 vote for any candidate. If you hold 1 proxy, you may cast up to a total of 10 votes by placing either a 1 or 2 in the box next to the candidate's name. You may not cast more than 2 votes for any candidate. If you hold 2 proxies, you may cast up to a total of 15 votes by placing a 1, 2, or 3 in the box next to the candidate's name. You may not cast more than 3 votes for any candidate. Remember to click continue and confirm to cast your vote. You may vote now.
We will allocate 2 minutes to vote for this. One more minute to vote. See, there's people still voting, so we'll give it another 30 seconds or so. Okay, thank you. Voting is now closed. Please give us a few minutes to tabulate the results. We will post them and Terry will distribute those results once we get the final numbers. Thank you. Okay, over to you, Terry, to say the results.
Thank you, Keegan. So I do have the election results, Mr. Chairman. Those candidates in no particular order that will serve a 2-year term to the Board of Directors are Anita Cote, Melanie Jew, Neil McNabb, and Stephanie White. Serving a 1-year term is John McMillan. Thank you to all candidates. And Mr. Chairman, I will turn the floor back to you.
Thank you, Terry. And thank you to the nominating committee for doing an excellent job. The members of the nominating committee again, Terry Engen as chair, Bill Ennis, Chuck Gallagher, and Bruce Hamilton, who have done some excellent work. These individuals have given up considerable amount of time, and I want you all to know your efforts are significant and very much appreciated. I want to thank Dr. Shalina Babel for her outstanding service to BC Hockey as a board and to the board of directors, but also recognize her incredible contributions to help the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Her insight was incredibly important to the board in getting the return to hockey plan correct. Thank you, Shalina. And unless you change your place of employment, all of your phone numbers, I will find you and look for additional guidance in the future. Thank you again for your service. I also want to recognize the incredible efforts of Daryl Liram, who will not be returning. Daryl has been an incredible contributor for many years. Working alongside Daryl has been an honor, and I feel privileged to have had the opportunity to work with you. I also want you to remember that I know how to get in touch with you as well. Thank you for your service, and I want you to know the work you have done for BC Hockey has had a profound effect on moving our organization forward. In saying that, I would like to welcome Melanie Ju and Anita Cote to the board, and I look forward to getting to know both of you and working with you in the future. Finally, before we wrap up this AGM, the first virtual AGM, I want to express my thanks to all of you for your continued support and kind comments that I've received over the past years as chair. I am excited about our future. Never in the history of our organization has there ever been an opportunity as there is now to work together to build our branch. I look forward to the next 2 years for working together with all of you to continue the work that has started in making our branch the best in Canada. Thank you. Just to close off, the 2021 BC Hockey Annual General Meeting is scheduled to take place at the Penticton Lakeside Resort and Conference Center. And at this time, do I have a motion and a seconder to adjourn this 101st BC Hockey Virtual AGM? If so, please use the raised hand button on your GoToWebinar bar on this video conference. And I'll ask Sean Orr to give me the 2 names.
Thanks, Bill. Before we close, there is a question that has come in from David Kahn. He's asked, why is there not a question period as usual for us to ask?
Question period in what for what? I'm not really sure what we're looking for here.
We will look to unmute David here so for him to provide some further input.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Hi,
so
Dave.
just a quick question.
Sure.
Thank you. Usually I know that during the Congress, maybe not at the AGM, but in several of our meetings, there's always a question period for different MHAs to ask some questions. I don't have necessarily a question myself currently, but I know that usually there is a question period. So I'm just wondering if there is one before we actually adjourn the AGM, as it's our only time for all MHAs to be able to ask questions to the board of directors of BC Hockey.
There hasn't been a provision set up in this meeting, David, for that, but if you'd like to ask a question, I would welcome the question.
Thank you for the opportunity. I don't have personally, it's just that generally there's always a couple of people that stand up at the mics at the congresses. So I was just wondering if other people might have questions. So I'm raising the questions for other people that might not have zoned into that. So if nobody else has questions, that's fine. I just wanted to raise that point. Thank you, Bill.
David, and I appreciate your question, and this is something new to all of us, so it may be a little clumsy, but we'll do the best we can here for sure.
Not a problem, thanks.
We have some additional comments, Bill, from Trent McNabb, Greater Trail MHA. He has said, well done, this is a very efficient platform. Larry Hayes from Burnaby Minor has said questions were open during presentation of reports. And Stuart Frizzle from Sunshine Coast has asked to speak, so I will be unmuting him right now.
Thank you, Sean.
Stuart, your mic is now open.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to take the opportunity to commend and thank Bill and the board for undertaking a transformation of the branch. You guys listened to the member concerned and you took action. And I just want to say that what a great model that is for all the organizations that are serving the hockey community under BC Hockey's guidance. So thank you, and I'm excited to see where we're going next. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Stuart, for your kind words. Very much appreciated.
There are no other questions at this time, Bill. From the motion and seconder, we have Robert Story motion, Christopher Ford seconding.
Okay, well, again, my thanks to everybody for attending our first virtual annual general meeting. And we look forward to working closely again with our members and building the new BC Hockey. And we're going to do it with your input and your help. So Again, thank you very much, and we'll say that the first annual general meeting virtually done is complete, and thanks a lot.